up. Again, the adenine and the thymine pair, and then the guanine and the cytosine pair. So you're looking for A's and T's, and then C's and G's. Number 10, what is the name of the chemical that plants make for food? So they make glucose first, but that's not how they store it. Okay? So, and remember, so glucose, just to draw you another little picture here, glucose would be these simple molecules that the plant makes, but then they have to store it by connecting those glucose molecules. And when they connect them, then it makes one big piece called starch. And hopefully you remember that from one of my previous videos. Okay? So then that answers number 11 for us. Number 11, what is the name of the chemical that plants often store their food as? That would be starch. Okay, starch. So they make glucose, but they store it as starch. So starch is a bigger version of glucose. Number 12, what is the byproduct of photosynthesis that is beneficial to humans? So think of it as, what do we need plants to produce so that we can breathe that in? And the answer would be oxygen. So without plants doing photosynthesis and producing oxygen for us, we would not be able to survive. So we need plants just as much as they need us, because we provide the carbon dioxide for them. So it's just a big life cycle that is perfect. Number 13, an organism's receptors no longer work. Which of the 4 criteria of life will the organism not be able to perform? So instead of thinking of 4, you can think of the 7, and I'm sorry, that was a typo. So out of these 7 characteristics right here, if the receptors were broken, which one would we not be able to do? So if you think back to right here on page 2, receptors is dealing with responding to stimulus. So if the receptors were not working, then we would not be able to respond to stimulus. So that is our answer for number 13. That is the characteristic or the criteria that we would not be able to do without these important receptors. Okay, so hopefully that makes a little bit more sense now. Number 14, what is the smallest unit of life? So life is talking about cells, because remember, atoms are not alive, molecules are not alive, but when they all come together and make these really important connections, then they can make cells. And cells is the first and the smallest unit of actual life. So isn't God just amazing how he can take something like atoms and then pair them up to make molecules, and then molecules can pair up and continue to make these connections, and then all of a sudden, with the snap of his fingers, we have something that's alive now. And I just find that absolutely amazing. So number 15, be able to label the 4 basic components of a cell. Okay, so if you look at your notes on page 4, the 4 basic parts of a cell is A, B, C, and D. These are the ones that are going to be on your test. Okay, the cell membrane, remember, that is the outer skin that helps protect everything that is inside the cell. The cytoplasm is the gooey stuff inside that holds everything together. And then the nucleus is really important because it holds the DNA. Okay, so it's the protector of the DNA, the instruction book. It's kind of like a secret treasure map, and the nucleus is the guard for that treasure map. And then the organelles, you don't need to worry about these right now, but you just need to really know that all these other random little pieces that you see floating around in a cell, those are organelles. And they all have a job, but you don't need to know what that job is quite yet. Okay, so you only need to know cell membrane, cytoplasm, nucleus, and organelles. And you will be given a picture of one of these cells on your test, and you will have to label just those 4 things. Okay? Now, number 16, in which organelle is most of the DNA stored? So, like I just mentioned, the nucleus is where the DNA is stored. Now, if a cell does not have a nucleus, which would be this lovely prokaryote cell, keep in mind prokaryotes do not have a nucleus, their DNA just floats around freely. Okay? But if you are looking at animal cells or plant cells, which are called eukaryote, then they have a nucleus that protects that DNA. Okay, so most of the DNA is found in the nucleus. Number 17, how many basic kinds of cells are there? So there's 2 main types of cells, which would be prokaryote, and then there is eukaryote. Prokaryote is bacteria, eukaryote is animal and plant. So on your test, this question technically has 2 answers. So if you put your answer as prokaryote and eukaryote, that is perfectly correct.